If California was a country, it would have the fourth largest economy in the world. So it's no surprise California has a lot of registered LLCs. And if you're looking to set one up for yourself, you're watching the right video. In this step-by-step tutorial, I'll cover all the steps you need to follow to set up your LLC in California. I'll also highlight important details you need to keep in mind to maximize your chances of setting up your LLC correctly the first time. Be warned, there are a lot of steps, and it could feel a bit overwhelming. The good news is that later in the video, I'll walk you through a shortcut that makes this whole process 1,000 times easier. If you want to jump straight to the shortcut, go to this timestamp in the video. Don't worry if you're bad with computers. I'll show you which website to visit, which buttons to click, and how to fill out and submit your application in the easiest way possible. So make sure you watch this video until the end. Now, before I get into the actual steps, there are a few specific things about California LLCs that you should know. And if you skip these, you could end up with compliance issues or unexpected costs down the road. So, first of all, what exactly is an LLC? An LLC, or limited liability company, is a business structure that combines the flexibility and simplicity of a partnership with the liability protection of a corporation. It creates a separate legal entity for your business, which means your personal assets, your savings, your car, your home, are protected from any business liabilities. In simple words, if your business gets sued or runs into debt, your personal life stays out of it. That separation is the whole point of forming an LLC, and it's why millions of business owners choose this structure every single year. Now, California is one of the more expensive and compliance-heavy states when it comes to running an LLC. There are costs and requirements here that don't exist in most other states. The first step is choosing a name for your LLC. And this is more important than most people think, because naming issues are one of the most common reasons LLC filings get rejected in California. So let's make sure you get this right from the start. Your LLC name needs to follow a few rules. First, it must end with an approved designator. That means you need to include LLC, LLC, Limited Liability Company, Limited Liability Co., or LTD Liability Co. at the end of your business name. Second, it must be unique and distinguishable from any other existing business name already on file with the California Secretary of State. And third, you need to avoid restricted words, things like bank, insurance, corporation, trust, or anything that suggests your business is a government agency or requires special licensing. Now, here's something interesting that's unique to California. The state has corporations and LLCs on the same name search database, but the naming requirements for each are actually different. This means you can have the same company name as a corporation and an LLC both active at the same time in California. For example, a Trucking Inc. and a Trucking LLC can both legally exist. So don't be discouraged if you see a corporation with a similar name to what you want. Consult with an expert just to be sure. But as long as there's no other LLC with that exact name, you're probably fine. And here's another thing most people don't know. If a company with the same name you want is currently suspended or terminated, you can actually use that name. They lost their rights to it the moment they were suspended or terminated. And don't worry, if they ever try to reinstate, they would be the ones who need to change their name. You would get to keep yours. To check if your name is available, go to the California Secretary of State website and use the business name search. It's completely free and takes about 2 minutes. I'll give you an important heads up about the EIN process in a few minutes. If you choose a name that's similar to a previously suspended or terminated company, the IRS might not be aware that the old company is gone and may flag your EIN application. In that case, you'll need to go through a verification process to prove your ownership is different from the old one. This can take 2 to 4 weeks. If you want to avoid that delay entirely, just choose a name that's clearly different from any previously existing company, and you'll get your EIN right away. If you find a name you like, but you're not quite ready to file yet, you can reserve it for up to 60 days by filing a name reservation form. This costs $10 per name, and you can reserve more than one name at the same time if you're deciding between options. This prevents anyone else from taking your name while you're getting everything together. The second step is appointing a registered agent. A registered agent is the person or company that receives important legal documents on behalf of your LLC. Things like government notices, tax forms, and legal summons if someone ever sues your business. Having a registered agent might sound like a fancy butler service for rich people, but it's actually the bare minimum. It's a strict requirement. In California, the registered agent is officially called the agent for service of process. To qualify, they must have a physical California address, be available during normal business hours from 9 to 5, and be able to accept legal documents on behalf of your LLC. You cannot use a P.O. box, so it must be a real physical address. Now you have a few options here. You can be your own registered agent, you can appoint a friend or family member, or you can use a registered agent service. If you choose to be your own agent or appoint someone you know, that person's name and full address will appear on your articles of organization and become completely public record. If you value privacy, I don't recommend doing this. For most people, the best option is to use a registered agent service, but more on that later. The third step is filing your articles of organization. This is the document that officially registers your LLC with the state of California. Think of it as the birth certificate of your company. It covers your LLC name, your business address, your registered agent information, how your LLC will be managed, and the date of filing. You have 3 options for filing. You can fill out Form LLC-1 and mail it to the Secretary of State's office, deliver it in person to the Sacramento or Los Angeles offices, or file it online. Filing online is the fastest and most straightforward option. If you submit in person, there is an additional $15 special handling fee on top of the standard filing fee. The state filing fee is $70. If you want a certified copy of your articles of organization, which most banks will actually require when you go to open a business bank account, that's an additional $5. So budget around $75 to $90 for this step, depending on what you need. Approval typically takes around 7 business days. Once approved, your LLC officially exists. Now, one more thing worth knowing here. If you already have an LLC registered in another state and you want to operate in California, you don't file Form LLC-1. Instead, you need to file Form LLC-5, which is the application to register a foreign limited liability company in California. This is a separate process specifically for out-of-state LLCs expanding into California. Okay, so that was a lot, but we're making progress, so that's good. Feel free to rewind and watch any part of this video again, and you can also bookmark this video for later. The fourth step is creating your operating agreement. And this is one of the most important steps that a lot of new business owners either rush through or skip entirely. Don't make that mistake. California is one of only a handful of states that actually requires LLCs to have an operating agreement. Even if you're a single-member LLC with no partners, you still need one. The good news is you don't file it with the state. It's an internal document that you keep with your business records. When you first form your LLC, it's essentially just a shell. It has no liability protection, no voting rights, no rules, nothing. The operating agreement is what establishes all of that. It sets out the rules and regulations for how your company operates, what happens in disputes, who has voting rights, how profits are distributed, what happens if a member wants to leave, and what happens if you decide to dissolve the LLC entirely. Without a proper operating agreement, a court could look at your LLC and decide it's not a real separate entity from you personally. And if that happens, your personal assets are no longer protected. That's the last thing you want. A single-member LLC operating agreement is typically around 30 pages long. A multi-member one is around 60 pages. I'd strongly recommend having a professional help you put this together rather than trying to write it yourself. The cost of getting it done right is nothing compared to the cost of getting it wrong. And remember, your operating agreement is a living document. Update it anytime something significant changes in your business, whether that's adding a new member, changing how profits are distributed, or anything else that affects how the company operates. Some banks will also ask to see your operating agreement when you go to open a business bank account or apply for a loan. So having it properly prepared from day one just makes everything smoother down the road. Now the fifth step is getting your EIN number. EIN stands for Employer Identification Number, and it's basically your business's social security number. You need it to open a business bank account, hire employees or contractors, apply for a business loan, and file your business taxes. You need to wait until your LLC has been officially approved by the state before you apply for your EIN. Don't apply before you have confirmation that your articles of organization have been accepted. Once you have that confirmation, go directly to the IRS website at irs.gov and apply online. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and it's completely free. There are a lot of third-party websites out there that will try to charge you $200 or more to get your EIN. Don't fall for this. The IRS does it for free, so always go directly through the official IRS website. Now here's something really important that a lot of people get wrong at this stage. When you apply for your EIN, you have to tell the IRS how your LLC is going to be taxed. Your options are a disregarded entity, a partnership, a C corporation, or an S corporation. This decision matters a lot because if the tax classification you choose when getting your EIN doesn't match how you actually file your taxes the following year, your tax return will be rejected, and you'll have to go through additional paperwork to fix it. So make sure you understand which classification is right for your situation before you apply. If you're not sure, this is a great question to ask an accountant before you proceed. The sixth step is opening a dedicated business bank account, and this is non-negotiable. Once you have your LLC and your EIN, open a separate business bank account straight away. Never run your business finances through your personal account, because mixing your personal and business finances is called commingling, and it's one of the most common ways business owners accidentally destroy their own liability protection. If a creditor or attorney can show that you've been treating your business and personal finances as the same thing, a court can pierce the corporate veil and come after your personal assets to satisfy business debts. The whole point of forming an LLC was to prevent exactly that. So keep everything completely separate from day one. To open a business bank account, you'll typically need your articles of organization, your operating agreement, your EIN, and a government-issued ID. Most banks will also want a certified copy of your articles of organization, which is why I mentioned getting that certified copy earlier. You should also consider getting a dedicated business credit card. It makes keeping your expenses separate even easier, and many business cards offer cashback rewards and other benefits that can add real value over time. For your business bank account, I'd recommend checking out AirWallex. It works perfectly well for a US-based business, but where it really stands out is if you ever decide to expand internationally down the road. Instead of having to open new bank accounts in different countries, everything is already set up and ready to go. It's just a much smarter setup from day one. I made a detailed review video about AirWallex, which you can watch after this video. There should also be a link to that video in the description below. Now let's talk about taxes, because California has some specific requirements you need to be aware of. Every LLC doing business in California is required to pay an annual franchise tax of $800 to the California Franchise Tax Board every single year. Even if your LLC made $0, even if you haven't started operating yet, you pay it until you officially cancel the LLC, and there are no exceptions. For most new LLCs formed this year, the $800 is owed in your first year. The first payment is due on the 15th day of the 4th month after you form your LLC. The month you file counts as the first month, regardless of whether you formed at the very beginning or the very end of that month. So if you form your LLC in September, October counts as month 1, and your first payment is due by December 15th. After that first payment, all subsequent payments are due by April 15th each year. Now, if your LLC's total income from California sources exceeds certain thresholds, you'll owe additional fees on top of the $800. For revenues between $250,000 and $500,000, the additional fee is $900. And if your LLC makes more than $5 million, that additional fee goes up to $1,790. So keep these thresholds in mind as your business grows. Beyond the franchise tax, you're also responsible for federal income tax, state income tax, and depending on your business, potentially self-employment tax, sales tax, fuel taxes, and environmental fees. The specific taxes that apply to you depend on what your business does and how it's structured. This is another area where working with a CPA who understands California business taxes is worth the investment. A good CPA should save you a lot more money than they charge. Now let's talk about licenses and permits. Depending on what your business does and where it's located, you may need licenses or permits at the federal level, the state level, and the local city level. Not every city has license requirements, and not every type of business needs one. But the best way to find out is to simply call your local city office and ask. It takes 5 minutes and could save you from a compliance issue down the road. You also should consider getting business insurance. Depending on your business type, some forms of insurance are actually required by law in California. And even where it's not required, having the right coverage is a good idea. Your LLC protects your personal assets from business liabilities, but it doesn't protect the business itself from things like property damage, lawsuits, or employee injuries. So make sure you look into what coverage makes sense for your specific situation. And finally, let's cover the ongoing compliance requirements, because forming your LLC is not a one-time thing. There are things you need to do every year to keep it in good standing. The first is the Statement of Information. Within 90 days of forming your LLC, you must file an initial Statement of Information with the California Secretary of State. After that, you need to file it again every 2 years. The filing fee is $20. If you miss this filing, the penalty is $250, and your LLC can be suspended or even forfeited. So put this date in your calendar right now. The second is the Beneficial Ownership Information Report, or BOI. This is a newer requirement that came into effect in January 2024. New LLCs need to file this report with FinCEN, which is the U.S. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, within 90 days of formation. The report identifies the true owners of the LLC. There is no charge to file it, but if you miss it or file it late, the fine is $500 per day. It's also worth knowing that not every owner necessarily needs to be listed on the report, and in some cases, married individuals may need to add their spouse. Once again, if you're unsure about this, check with a professional before filing. And third, make sure you're staying on top of your annual franchise tax payment every year. Missing it means penalties and interest on top of the $800 you already owe. Now, unless you're a lawyer or accountant who specializes in business formation or corporate law, you're probably feeling super overwhelmed. Setting up an LLC in California has a lot of steps, and even a single mistake can either delay the whole process or hit you with annoying fines and fees. Earlier in the video, I mentioned using a registered agent service, and that's the shortcut to all of this. A good registered agent service can save you from hours of legal mumbo-jumbo and allows you to finish your application in less than 20 minutes. Let me show you the process for setting up your LLC in California using Taylor Brands. If you want to follow along, I left a link in the description below. First, go to the Taylor Brands California LLC formation page. The website will ask you to enter your desired LLC name. Your business name must be unique, different from other businesses registered in California, and it must include one of the approved designators, like LLC or Limited Liability Company. Taylor Brands automatically checks whether your name is available in California before moving forward. Next, you'll be asked to describe your business. Basically, what do you sell? Do you sell a service, physical products, or are you a content creator looking to put an LLC behind your media business? Pick the option that makes the most sense for your business. Now, fill out this section to describe the industry your business is a part of. This should be self-explanatory, but as a quick tip, if you're unsure, you can just describe your business to ChatGPT and then ask it to tell you what to select for each part of the application. Next, Taylor Brands will show you different packages to choose from. Since we're trying to set up an LLC today, pick the LLC formation option and continue. Now select business name and click Next. Enter your first and last name and a valid email address, and then make password and click Continue. Now you'll see the option to get your EIN number. As I mentioned, an EIN is extremely important for your business. It's required to open a business bank account, file taxes, hire employees, and manage your company professionally. Select Get My EIN to protect my identity and click Next. Now on this page, you'll see the LLC Compliance Service option. This service helps ensure your business stays compliant with state regulations by handling important requirements like annual report filings and maintaining your company's good standing. It lets you focus on growing your business while the compliance tasks are managed for you. Select Keep My LLC Compliant and click Next. Now you'll be asked about creating an operating agreement. An operating agreement is a very important legal document that establishes the rules, ownership structure, responsibilities, and management of your business. Unless you have a specific reason for not having one, select Get My Operating Agreement and click Next. After that, you'll see the banking section, where they ask whether you already have a business bank account or would like to open one. If you decide to go with Airwallex or some other business bank account, just click I don't need an account and click Next. Now you should be on the Checkout and Review page. Make sure you look through it carefully to make sure all the information is correct. Spending a couple of minutes double-checking everything can save you from annoying revisions later on. Once everything looks good, continue to the payment section. You can pay through PayPal or a regular debit or credit card, whatever works for you. Once you complete the payment, your LLC application will be submitted successfully. Make sure to check your email regularly for any updates from Taylor Brands. If you followed all the steps as I showed here, you should have your California LLC application complete and ready to submit in just a few minutes. Airwallex already has a free plan, and I'm working on getting you guys a special discount with Taylor Brands as well. If I manage to lock one in, I'll update the link in the description, so make sure to use that link if you want to save some money. Have a nice day and see you in the next video.